In the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you the best client acquisition method to use in 2025 and the exact one that helped me scale my agency from zero to over $20,000 a month in just 4 months. Now, not only did it help me, but also the people I've given the system to. For example, Ben scaled from 8 to 25K a month in just 2 months. There's like a video on my YouTube channel. You can go and check it out. It's an interview with him, how we exactly did that. Ethan used it to scale from 0 to 4.5K a month in 3 weeks. You can see right here, closed a client for $1,500 a month, signed another client. Yes, sir, added $4,500 in monthly income revenue now. Harrison used it to scale from 2K a month to $10,000 a month in 3 months. Here you can see, thank you so much for all your help you've given me so far. Months ago when I started, I was barely at 2K a month. Now I'm just below 10, which is ridiculous for me to think about. Thank you so much for your help so far. I really appreciate it. And it helped Jay solve his client acquisition problem and close these 3 deals worth $32,000 in the span of 1 month. Okay, 7 days in the new year here, we got 12K for 6 months, 8K deal, and then another 12K deal. And this was all in a span of 1 month. And no, this method is not just Instagram DMs. It's not mass cold emails. It also doesn't require you to run any paid ads. And if you've been struggling to get more clients, then watching this video until the end and implementing everything that's in here will solve that problem forever, and you'll have more clients that you know how to fulfill. That's, for example, the position that Jay was in for a long time. He had more clients than he knew how to actually fulfill, so he had to stop client acquisition. By the way, nobody else is using this method in the exact way I'm going to show you in a second, because I came up with it. Okay, so before I give you all the actionable steps to implement this system for yourself, let me explain why this really is the best client acquisition method to use to scale your agency to 20K a month by comparing it to some of the other methods you've probably been using or considered using. Okay, just to be clear, these other methods also work, but they all have their pros and cons. So let's go through them. So the first one is cold IG DMs. That's probably what a lot of people are doing and what a lot of you guys have been doing as well. And there are a couple of pros with that. Okay, first of all, it's easy to get started with. All you really need is just an Instagram account and 2 hands, and then you can already send messages. And sourcing leads is pretty easy as well, because a lot of people are on Instagram. Like, you can just use the search bar on Instagram even to find a ton of your leads. You can do decent volume. You know, you can easily send 100 DMs plus per day, if not even more if you have multiple accounts. And it's not only good for B2B to reach business owners, but it's also good for B2C. Okay, so if you're selling some kind of B2C, let's say coaching offer, it's easy to reach people that way as well. Now, while IGDMs do have their pros, and it's not a bad method in general, there's also a ton of cons that are involved with it. So for example, everybody is doing it. Everybody and their mom is sending cold DMs because it is so easy to do. It's impossible to stand out. It requires high volume. You're burning through a ton of leads because the response rates are very low. So you have to send out a lot of them. Like, just to give you an idea, here are my DMs from like the last week or so. Okay, there's just too much. There's too many of these people, okay? And a lot of times also prospects do treat you like shit, because it's just annoying, man. Like, my DMs are flooded, okay? And for you to stand out even just a little bit, you need to really optimize the account. So you have a ideally good following, blue check mark, which is easy, but then really good content on there as well. And it just needs to be looking nice. You need to look like somebody I would actually want to connect to, which then obviously takes months just to build that up. And also, follow-ups are harder on Instagram because oftentimes you can only request to send somebody a message, and after that you can't do a follow-up anymore. And you can't really build a genuine connection because you're being dehumanized. Like, if you're getting so many of these just start to look the same, okay? Like, these are just text on screen. It's not even really like people anymore, okay? It's really not. Like, I just see these as like a message, and there are real people behind sending this message, but it just doesn't come across this way anymore because there's so many of them. Now, before I show you what the method is that is a lot better than cold DMs, let's talk about cold calls, okay? There's definitely some pros with it. First of all, it's directly to the lead, and there's a potential to achieve quick results. Like, you just call somebody up and he's right there, okay? There's a direct and immediate communication that's not really possible to any other method. And you're also, like, the lead sourcing can be easy depending on the niche. Like, finding phone numbers really isn't that hard from businesses. There's a real-time interaction. Like, you get feedback immediately. You call somebody up, they tell you to fuck off, or they don't want to listen to you, which rarely happens. But that's also, I'm going to talk about that in the cons. But it also does build confidence and skills. You know, if you do a bunch of cold calls, you'll build up some skills that are going to be really useful. And it's cost effective. Okay, all you do need is like a software, maybe your phone, a number, and the leads, and that's it. Now, there are a ton of cons involved with this as well. First of all, there's really high rejection rates. Okay, the conversion rates on the calls is usually low. It's very time intensive. Like, calling people up. You should know this, but you need to like sit down, call people up all day. And it's pretty challenging to scale. Okay, like, you know, building a team of dialers is going to be a very tough and long-term thing to do. And so it's hard to, like, you know, clone yourself. So you need to build a team, which then costs a lot of energy and time as well, and management. It requires skill and training. Like if you just try to get a client right away with it, it's going to be very tough because you're probably going to suck, which is fine, but it takes a long time to get good at this. It's pretty inefficient, so it takes a long time to like call 100 people, take a ton of time, even 200. And it also has low reachability of decision makers for tons of companies. Like you'll reach the front desk, you'll reach the assistant. Sometimes, depending on the niche you're in, it's very hard to get to the decision maker. Like, let's be real, bro. Like, cold calling just sucks, which is okay. A lot of things in business are gonna suck, but this sucks next level, man. And also, cold calling is like associated with scam. Like, it's a little scammy, you know, when you call people up. Especially like in Asia and Europe, they're not really used to getting cold calls that much. In the US is a little different. But yeah, those are the cons of cold calling. So while it is not necessarily a bad method, there are all these cons which also kind of keep you from being able to get results quickly, because you're probably going to suck at it for a long time. Now I'm going to move to the method that I'm actually using in a second. But the last one I want to touch on is paid ads, because paid ads are actually great. Okay, I really do like paid ads, and it's probably what a lot of people want to do. And there's a ton of pros with them. Okay, they're very scalable. You can reach a massive audience, okay, because like you just post an ad, you put some money into it, and it reaches hundreds of thousands of people. It is more automated, right? Because all the heavy lifting is done by the algorithms. So the algorithms find the leads for you, they find the people that you should target, and they put that video in front of them. So you don't really have to source leads or whatever, it just does it for you. There's constant lead flow if you do it right. Okay, there's pretty much new leads coming in every single day or every single week. And it is very versatile. Okay, it can be used for everything from e-com to online coaching to in-person services, whatever. Like you can use paid ads for so many different things. Now there are some cons with it though that really can't be ignored. So let me quickly go through them as well. First of all, ads obviously eat into your margins. Like ads cost money. Even if you get a good ROAS of like 5x, you're still spending 20% on the revenue that you're bringing in on ads, which is like a lot. With that money, you can do a lot. You can hire a lot of team members and all that kind of stuff as well. It's not effective for a high level B2B at all. Like when I say high level B2B, I mean like 9-figure companies and up, like real big companies. It's not really effective because I think there are about like 23,000 9-figure companies in the US. And if you're running ads, like you're going to reach hundreds of thousands of people, and there may be like 3 owners per week that are actually in your target demographic, because it's so hard to reach these people. And it'll be way more effective to approach them directly with one of the other methods that I mentioned, or with the method I'm going to mention in a second, but like directly reaching out to these people, because you can reach 23,000 people with outreach in a couple months if you wanted to. So you could go through a whole market. Another con is that you don't have really much control over who you reach. Okay, while the algorithms do most of the work, you also can't really decide who the algorithms reach. So you get a ton of unqualified and shitty leads, and you can't really do much about it. There's also a high risk to burn cash with new offers that aren't proven yet. So if you just build an offer, you haven't really sold it yet, you maybe don't have the right messaging yet, and you don't really know if this offer is actually going to work, probably going to burn some money. But you know, that's just how it goes with ads. And it also requires cash flow. So this is probably the biggest con for a lot of people, because it does require a couple $1,000 a month minimum. Like in my opinion, depending on how high ticket your offer is, you need at least 2,000 to 5,000 to just burn and not give a fuck about. Okay, that's like kind of the money that you want to have when running ads, because yes, you can spend $1,000, and yes, you might get a close with that money, but you might as well not. You know, you might need to do a little bit more testing, but then you're running out of cash and you just wasted all your money. And another con is that competitors can easily copy you, leaving you in a constant cycle of innovation, because like, you know, everybody researches each other's ads, and everybody sounds like everybody, and it's hard to stand out, and you need to constantly like run new ads to make them perform again, and that's just a little exhausting as well. And it is pretty inconsistent. There's always something that changes. Algorithms change, targeting options change, and then the same ads don't perform anymore. Like it's so many things that just like throw you off when running ads, that is not really consistent. But the method I'm going to show you in a bit, like that has been consistently working for me now for over 2.5 years. And there's, yes, we optimize it over time as well, but there's not much that changed, you know, really about the method. So I'm going to show you in a second. But another con also, you're at the mercy of Facebook or Meta. You know, it's not the best company to rely on. Okay, they ban your accounts, they restrict shit, they don't spend on some ads. I don't know, they ban the ads. A lot of shit that happens. Okay, anyone who ever run Facebook ads knows what I'm talking about. It's a tough one. Now, all of these methods do have their place, okay? But I'm going to show you something and another method that actually combines a lot of these pros, but also solves a lot of the cons at the same time. So let's dive into it. So the method I want to talk about is the Loom reach system. Okay, basically, for anybody who doesn't know, Loom is just a software to record videos online. And basically what we do is we record a personalized video for every single prospect to stand out. Okay, it's actually personalized. You have to record this for every single one of the people that you're reaching out to. That video aims to blow the prospect's minds. Okay, we don't really make a direct offer in that video. We just give them a strategy with some actionable steps. And when they watch it, they're like, wow, it makes a lot of sense. Should have probably done this earlier, and I should really implement these things. Okay, and I'm going to walk you through how you can do this for yourself as well. So all you have to do is you have to have some leads. Okay, you have to have some people that you can reach out to. For example, this guy, Joshua May, I reached out to him a while ago and we did chat, but we never ended up working. So that's why I put him here. But let's go through how you can make this kind of a video for yourself and how we send it out and then how this all works and how you can actually book calls with this. Okay. So first of all, let's just walk through how this video works because there's a couple things. Now, usually first we go into our prospect's website or socials, just like here above, the way I did it. Okay. And then we start recording with Loom. I'm not actually recording with it right now, so I can just show you. So this is software right here. We just open this up. I don't have my virtual camera on, but basically you have your webcam here. You just start recording. You can also have like speaker notes. So the things that you're going to say, you can actually have on here. Okay. And then you can just read from here. I don't know what this video is for. Yeah, you can have that on there as well. Now, let me close this. And then what you do, you open the video up. First, we start with a hook. Okay, I'll just give you an example, but the hook is actually pretty simple. So it kind of goes like this. Hey, John, how's it going, man? Look, I came across this account of yours yesterday and I did a deep dive into it. And I had a super interesting idea that I thought I just had to share with you. So I thought I'd just take the time, record this video, shoot it over to you because I think this could be incredibly valuable for you, maybe even blow your mind. And look, if you watch this video until the end and you don't feel like you gained anything from it, just message me. I'm happy to buy you coffee for wasting your time. Okay, just a hook like that, I get, you just listen to it. That probably got you like listening. You're like, hold on, what is this guy talking about? He's a little funny, he's a little witty, so let me listen. Okay, let me see what he got to say. So then right after the hook, we want to dive into the prospect's pain point. Okay, like we want to really speak to them. Okay, they need to feel like they're being heard. So basically, what I like to do is I go into their account or onto their socials and I point something out that probably has been bothering them. So here's an example. Now, John, I know you're putting a lot of effort into this account, and I think you're doing a great job at that. You're posting almost daily, and I know how much work it takes to actually create these pieces of content. You're doing a great job. But look, man, I also know how it kind of feels when you're sitting in front of bright lights and you're recording videos every day, all day, and at the end, they don't really reach the amount of people and leads that you really want them to reach, and you feel like this is all for nothing, and it's not really moving forward at all, or it's not really growing. And because I know that can be very frustrating, I kind of just wanted to show you 3 things that you can implement right now, like 3 tweaks you can make to not only make this content reach a lot more new people that are interested in your offer, but also convert these people for your offer effectively. Okay, let me dive into it, man. So kind of what I did is just address the current situation. This is just an example, by the way. This is not exactly how I do my looms either. And what we do from there is we also like kind of say, okay, here are 3 things you can implement right now. Okay, like 3 tweaks just to show them, okay, we are here to provide value. Okay, you're going to learn something, you're going to take something away from the video. And then the way I like to provide the value is like this. Okay, this is incredibly important. I like to always have like 2-3 points, like an actual strategy, like a top to bottom, like kind of thing. Like, okay, start doing this, then do this, then do this, and this will give you that result. Okay, I don't like to just pinpoint a couple things. Oh yeah, you should use better editing or better hooks, whatever. Nobody cares about that shit, okay? So I want to give them a full-on strategy. So it could be an ad strategy, an actual content strategy. It could be how to improve his sales, his funnel, like actual strategy, like how to get more attention, how to convert the attention more effectively. That's what we do as content agencies in general. And so the framework to present that, though, is incredibly important, because what is really key is that while you're delivering the value, you do not want to sound like anybody else that has also sent them a message, ever. Okay? And there is a framework to use to not sound like that, to sound completely unique, as if this was something that they have never heard about and never tried. And that kind of goes like this. So in the value part, we're diving into the first thing. So we're saying, John, let me get into what I was thinking about, man. So the first thing is, okay, and then first you point out the mistake that he's doing. I'll give you like some random example now. Okay, now John, the reason you're in this position right now is probably because just like almost everybody else, you're just posting the content that comes to your mind. So you're thinking about some ideas, thinking, okay, this, my audience might like this, and then you just record the video and post it. And while that is a lot better than not posting any content at all, there's a huge problem with that. Okay, so I kind of pointed out the mistake. They're just posting whatever they want. And now I want to establish why that is a problem. Now here's why that's a problem. Okay, if you do it that way, if you just post whatever comes to mind, and usually those reels aren't really optimized for retention, and they aren't optimized to reach new people, and they usually don't perform that well. Just like on your account right now, they usually get about a couple hundred views. They don't really bring in any new leads. And so the consequence of that, okay, I directly move on, is that you don't really have good lead flow. Okay, you have a couple of leads and you're really struggling to see, okay, where's my next client going to come from? Is it going to be referral? Is it going to be through word of mouth? And you end up being kind of stressed because you don't really have enough lead flow. You don't really have enough leads to choose from, and you're trying to collect the scraps. Okay, so what we did now is we kind of said, okay, here's a mistake. Here's what you're doing wrong. Here's a problem with that. Okay, mistake is just posting whatever they want without really thinking about it and without really analyzing anything. The problem with that is that it's not really optimized for attention. It's not really reaching new people because it's not performing well. The consequence of that is that their lead flow is going to dry out. They're going to be stressed. They don't know where the next client is going to come from, especially if this client is like, or this prospect is in that position. They're going to really resonate with what you're saying, right? And so the next step is to establish your own method. So you say something like, so instead what we do is we first do extensive research into competitors. Okay, we use a couple analyzing softwares like Sort Reels, for example. We get their best performing content. We really analyze, what is the length of these, what is the topic, what's the hook, what are the cut rates looking like. We break everything down to gather all the data from the best performing videos in your niche as well as other niches, across niches that you can also take inspiration from. And we then build out videos and structures and scripts based on that data. And so what happens when you do that, and then you go into the inverse benefit. So what is like but the reason I call it inverse benefit is because it's the opposite of what the consequence was, okay? And so what happens when you do that is your videos start performing really well, but they don't just go viral for the sake of going viral. They start performing well with the message you want to deliver while you're still being your authentic self. And so it reaches the right people. Okay, the right people meaning the right leads, the people that actually are interested to work with you. So now your lead flow increases. Okay, you get, instead of hundreds of views, you get tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of views on your reels. From that, there are a lot of interested people in your offer that then flood into your account that you can then later on convert. So this was just an example with one step, right? So I'm saying the solution value part should have 3 steps minimum, okay, or like 2 minimum, but it should be a full strategy. So this is just how to get more attention. The next thing I would dive into is then how to actually, for example, convert this attention, okay? Then I'll explain our appointment setting systems and how that's different. If you use this framework, what you essentially do is like, here is the mistake that everybody, including you, do. And the problem with that is this, the consequence with that is that. Now, our method is different because we go about it this way, and that makes you and that gives you the certain benefit right here. So it just sounds like what y'all are presenting is totally different from what they've been trying so far and what other people have been presenting to them as an idea as well. And so this value section is like the bulk of the loom. That's the biggest part. Usually it's about 2 to 3 minutes long, so you can take a minute for each point. And after you show the solution and give all the value, you ideally want to show some social proof. And it's great if you have it because you just back it up. Okay, everything you say, you just like, and look, John, this is not just like what I'm thinking. This actually works really well. Here's, for example, X, Y, and Z client that we've implemented this for, and here are the results that he's been achieving. Now, if you don't have any social proof yet, so if you don't have a lot of clients or you don't have amazing case studies yet, then what you can do instead is just show somebody else some of their competitors that are implementing these strategies that you've shown that are performing a lot better. And that will make them feel bad because they're like, wow, this guy is performing so well. He's living my dream and he's getting all of my clients. So I should probably do some of these things to be able to compete with him. Okay, so that's at least what you can show. So the method that you're showing gets authority, right? You're like showing something and they see in real life how that's really going to work out. And so at least you can show an example instead of actual social proof. And then the way we end this video off is with a strong CTA and the strong incentive to reply to us. Okay, so usually the way I like to go about that is kind of just saying, look, John, and this was probably a ton of information, right? Like this makes sense. Like you see how this would work. But you're probably also wondering, okay, how do I get started with this? Okay, like, is this really all worth it? First of all, like, is this work really, is this really going to work out for me? And how do I even start with all this stuff? And I get that, man. And I'm here to help you out. So I think if you just reply to this video, I think I'd be more than happy to kind of just put something together, basically do a whole deep dive into your competitors, already analyze their content, and then give you 3 ideas that you can just record for free, by the way, right? Like just 3 ideas, I'll shoot them over to you with the scripts that go along. You can just record them, you can post them, and you can already see an improvement in performance. Just so you see how this would actually look for you and how this would work. So yeah, if you just reply to this, man, I'd be happy to send it over. So just let me know. No reason not to reply, okay? There's no reason not to reply. It's free, you get something, it's a gift, whatever, they will reply. And when they reply, you don't actually, now here's the key, you don't actually send over that resource. You say, hey man, look, I'm happy to put that together. Is it okay if I just ask you a couple of questions just to make sure that this is actually tailored to you? When they say, yeah, sure, let's do it, you basically lead them on a call with that. Cool, when are you free for a chat? And you get them on a call. And you can actually do this, like you're not just like lying, like you can actually put together these reels. Oftentimes though, to put them together to not have a ton, because you will get responses. Okay, you will get a good amount of responses to these. So instead of putting this together for every single person, what we do is we use AI, okay, to create those scripts. But we have some problems with that. But that's kind of how we then automate that process. But then again, it's a very good incentive to get them on a call with. So now after we make this incredible video that will probably perform really well if the people just see it, we need to make people see it. Okay, we need to make people watch it. And the way we do it is we essentially go ahead and combine most of these methods, okay, into one, and then adding the looms on top. So I'll show you what I mean by that. Basically, we take this loom and we use something that I call OSSS. That's an abbreviation for Omni-social sending system, because essentially we send this loom out on every single platform that our prospects are on. Okay, we make sure that they see it. Okay, now after we send it, for example, to their email as a GIF, by the way, so I'll show you how that looks. So when you're sending the email, it kind of looks like this right here. So your ugly face is in the GIF on their email. They can just click on this and then this loom will open up. So that's why also it's kind of pattern interrupting, but I'll dive into that in a second. So we send it over email, we send it over Instagram DMs, we send it over Twitter, we send it over Snapchat, man. Fuck it. Like wherever they are on, okay, we're gonna send it to them on that platform, WhatsApp, for example. Then what we also usually do, okay, which is really effective. Now, what we do after we send them over each and every single platform is the following. So when prospects view it and they don't respond, because not everybody's gonna respond, or when they don't view it in the first place, what we do is we also call them up. But now you have a reason to cold call them. And this cold calling, like this method of cold call, like all the socials first and then cold calling after, works so well. I'll show you an example here. So for example, this is Dan. He's also sending out looms. And this was yesterday. He said, book the call for tomorrow. Make sure you call up your loom views. Even if they don't reply, I've booked 5 to 6 calls by doing this now. Hopefully get them turned up, whatever. But this works really well, especially if you then call them up after. I know Dan booked like 5 calls in an hour just by actually calling up his loom views. But there's a good reason to call people up, and they're not as annoyed because they know you put in some work up front. But I'll go into the pros now. Okay, I hope this all makes sense. First of all, this method is great, but I'm going to show you why we use this then, like all the pros, but also the cons, because there's a couple things that you really need to keep in mind when doing this. So I'll go through them in a bit as well. But let's go through the pros first. So I think they're pretty obvious. So first of all, you pattern interrupting. So if you have this, okay, in their emails or on every other platform, it's going to be a loom video. It's going to be something different. Okay, it's not going to be just the same old this right here. Okay, it's going to be looking a little different. So it's going to interrupt their pattern, which then makes people turn on their brain because you stand out. They're like, wait, this is something different. Hold on, let me see what this is. Okay, and this also then kind of gets them curious, kind of like, oh yeah, like who's this good looking guy on my socials right here? Let me click, let me see what he has to say, let me see what this is about. Okay, it gets them a little curious. Okay, it's also very effective for B2B and generally harder to reach individuals, people with like high following, etc. Like I've gotten some clients with this that have millions of followers and millions of subscribers because I was able to stand out with this. These higher level people like when there's effort put in up front. They don't want to just get a DM. They don't want to just get a random email. They want to see that you're invested in them. Okay, that's why it works really well for them. Also with the looms, you can pick and choose the most qualified leads. Okay, with the ads, it just targets anyone, but with the looms, you can be very, very clear about who you're trying to reach and then only reach out to those most qualified prospects. So you're not going to really get many like financial objections or anything like that. You also have 100% control over who you reach, kind of goes into this. There's no real risk to burn cash and no capital needed. You just need to have like a sending software, maybe like $30 a month. You need to have some emails, you have some Instagram accounts. All in all, maybe like $50 to $100 investment to get this rolling. And then these have like comparably higher response and booking rates. So I'll show you here some of the response that we're usually getting with these. For example, here, hey, I usually don't respond to these, but you hit some points that landed. Can we further discuss this via a video call with gratitude and appreciation? Whatever. You get like kind of positive response like these or like this. This was such a lovely email to receive. What a pleasure. Thank you. And people are thanking you for outreach. That's crazy. I'm currently in the process of rebranding, whatever. I don't care. But I'd like to learn more about your process, right? Or here, I just watched it, I'm intrigued, and then long ass messages. Yes, I have. Thank you for not being like the other hundreds of people contacting me every week. So that's because he did a video. Okay, he stood out. That's what I'm saying. Or hi Sean, I have to admit I'm impressed by your insistence, but don't get me wrong, I'm saying it on a positive note. Tell me more. First, I appreciate you taking the time to put this together instead of the 1,000 DMs, emails, get of people asking if they can put something together. So like upfront, okay, value upfront is key. Okay, people appreciate it. And then they ask you questions because they're interested. Or here, I'm impressed you took the time to make the video. Genuinely expected it to be one of those where it's a recording with a screenshot of my account behind it. So even automated looms, okay, don't perform as well. I know a lot of people are like, okay, can we automate this? Well, yes, you can, but you're going to miss out on all these potential leads right here. Okay, you actually don't give a fuck about the automated ones because they're already going to know of this shit, okay? Or here, thanks, Sammy, sounds interesting, but if you would be useful, indication of you. Basically, they're just interested here. Thank you for this video. Thanks for reaching out. I'd like to know more, basically, okay? So like a bunch of positive responses, people appreciating that this was actually value up front and a personalized video. That's why you get high response and booking rates compared to other methods. Now, also because you provide value up front, people genuinely appreciate you. Kind of seen that in the response right there as well. You have clear visuals, like prospects actually understand your system, because when I present this, I like to not only be on the socials, but I like to put together like a Miro board, kind of like this one right here, where I actually break down a strategy And I'll even like to personalize this Miro board to them. So I like to put their account screenshots and everything into that when I explain something. Okay, so it looks amazing and they really understand what this actually is, what you're providing. Because I mean, not like fully, right? You can in a couple of minutes, you can't just break everything down, but they really get the gist of, okay, what are you actually doing in the first place here? Also builds way more trust because you are an actual human being with a voice and a face, and you're moving, and you're not AI, you're not a bot, you're not just text, you're an actual human being, and that makes a big difference. It also gives you instant credibility because you're showing yourself. It's very personalized. Obviously, it also allows for a human connection, unlike like DMs or something like that. Even like calls are good, but they're still just the voice. This is like actual face, actual person, and people understand that you're a real human being, and they treat you like one most of the times. Okay. And you can use tonality for a good first impression in lowering prospect sales resistance. So if you really master your tone, you will actually get almost anybody to listen to you, because it's just nice to listen sometimes, okay, for some people. And if you master that, you get anybody to listen, right? You can also implement like effective CTAs, kind of like I showed above, where like it doesn't make sense not to respond. Also, this method is still decently scalable. Not only can you yourself record a ton of these looms, but you can also hire loom setters to do it for you. So there's a lot of ways to scale this method. It's easy to find and reach leads because you can leverage all platforms, right? If somebody is not on LinkedIn, they're going to be on WhatsApp. If they're not on WhatsApp, they're going to be on Twitter. If they're not on Twitter, you're going to be on mails. Okay, it doesn't matter. They're going to be somewhere. And if they're on every platform, you're going to reach them regardless because you're sending it over each and every single platform. So it's pretty easy to reach leads with this. Also, your competitors can copy you. This is huge because they can research your strategies. Okay, unless you post your loom public somewhere, nobody knows what you're actually saying there. You can make it so unique, so different from everybody else. Obviously, there are other people who are already sending looms, right? Like there are people who are already doing this. There's very few of them, and I'll tell you why in a second. But there are still people doing it. I mean, I get like one personalized loom, maybe like once a month. So like 12 in a whole year, which is crazy. Not that many. But even then, you can just make yours so much better and so different from everybody else, and nobody knows what you're doing, because with ads, you can just copy people. And with this, you can't. You also can't get banned. Okay, I'm like, I'm talking about Facebook. Like ads, you get banned a lot. And with this, you can't really get banned. Worst case, your account or your domain starts performing worse and lands spam, you buy a new one. You know, it's not that hard. Also, if you stay within limits, you won't really get flagged as spam anyway. It is also incredibly consistent. As I said, like we've been using this method for over 2.5 years now and perfecting it over time. And it just keeps on working really well. And I'll tell you why in a bit, why it's always working so well and why it's going to work so well in the future as well. And I know you're not thinking about this at the moment, but your company is also worth more. Okay, if you just build like a personal brand is amazing. I'm building my own myself, right? Like if you're just doing that though, and you don't have any cold methods to assign prospects on that are scalable, then it's gonna be worthless because it's gonna be tied to you only. And if you're here thinking about like 3-4 years into the future where you might want to sell your agency, then it's really good to have a method that is independent of you. And last but not least, just reciprocity, man. Like when somebody puts in so much work to reach you and does like he just does so much, and you see it and you're like, I mean, at least I can do is give this guy some attention, some time, right? And there's like an explanation of Hormozy on this. I'll probably just link it in the description. You can check it out later, and then you can see why reciprocity works so well, because Hormozy explains how it works in business. It's like an Instagram reel of him. All right, look, I'm not gonna pretend like there is a lot of pros. There's a lot of them. This method is great. It's amazing. You combine so many of the pros with the other methods, but I'm not gonna pretend like this method is perfect. So here are the cons, because there are some. You need to keep these in mind to not fail with this method, okay? Because this is not easy. Okay, there is a learning curve in the beginning, and you will need to work on a lot of different things. You need to work on your delivery, okay, how you actually say the things that you're saying, like the speed, your tone, okay, your presence in front of the camera, because a lot of people are shit in the beginning. A lot of people underestimate how hard this really can be. Okay, your setup needs to be great. I mean, mine is pretty, but yours might just be a laptop cam, which you have to maybe improve over time, get some lights going. Your copy, like your Loom copy, as well as your email and Instagram and every other outreach copy that you send Loom out with. Okay, so you need to improve on all these things. Okay, like these are key, and all of this is really actually hard. It's not that easy. Like it's not as easy as you think, unless you're a really great talker, right? But I can sit down and record a long video without really having to look at a script or nothing. But you might be surprised how hard it can be to sit in front of the camera for 4 minutes and actually say something off the top of your mind without making a ton of mistakes. And you will have to improve all these things, and it takes time. It takes real effort. Like if you sit down and record a couple of these, that might rack up to like 45 minutes, an hour, if you know, a recording session. So don't underestimate this. It's not really effective for B2C offers either. Like this is really just for like B2B. or like B2S, like B2 solopreneurs, like people who are like running consultancy, consultants, you know, finance consultants, lawyers and mortgage brokers and like stuff like that works, or even like local businesses, but it can't be like just like person, like a people, for example, somebody for like a fitness coaching off. It wouldn't be the most effective way to do that. Also, prospects still treat you like shit on occasion. I mean, this is sales. Okay, like obviously some people are still gonna be pissed off because they might just not watch the video, whatever. But to be honest with you, okay, the cons are not even real cons. Because look, it's not supposed to be easy. It's not just supposed to magically work. And when there is a high barrier to entry to a method, just like with these looms right here, because you need to be able to speak well, you need to be able to present yourself well, you need to have a good tone to make people listen, you need to know what you're talking about within the loom. Okay, there's a lot of things that go into it. So a lot of people are going to fail just starting with this, and then a lot more people are going to fail being consistent with it. But that way you already lose a lot of your competition. A lot of people aren't ready to put all this work in. And when there is a high potential for skill building like this one, like a lot of skills that go into this, you can become better and better and better over time, and you have the opportunity to become the best of the best. Like you really stand out even amongst people who are actually doing this. And as long as you have what it takes, you have the grit, you don't just quit after sending like 100 looms. Looms are fucking gold. Okay, you just have to put in tons of effort to mine and extract it, just like with real gold. Okay, and look, this was probably a decent amount of information, but here's something I want to do for you. Okay, if you DM me a specific phrase on Instagram that I'll tell you in a second, I'm actually willing for you to send me your own loom, and I might review it. Like I'm pretty sure they're gonna review. It might just take a little bit of time, but I'm gonna review your loom. So you can record this, you can follow these steps, and then you can send it over to me as somebody who recorded a ton of these and has seen every single variation of a loom possible, pretty much. You can send it to me and I can tell you what to improve, and I can give you a review. The phrase that you need to DM me though is gonna be check my loom daddy. If you're not ready to DM this to me, sorry, can't do nothing for you. You need to say this when sending the loom. Can't help you. My bad. But yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. I hope this is valuable though, and implement this. Trust me, man. It's gonna solve a lot of your client acquisition problems. That's how we did all these things. Keep that in mind. You know, a lot of people signed a ton of clients, made a lot of money with this method, including me. So yeah, go ahead and crush it with this.